So this is Louis, and I am currently hanging out here on a case, waiting for this person to take off because she's currently at a house, and she hasn't left just yet, and she appears to be working, which she shouldn't be. So this is another woman that is probably going to be going to jail at some point for this because you can't perjure yourself, you can't commit fraud, and she isn't a particular kind of public employee, so she's not going to get away with it. And that's funny because I actually investigated another woman the other day who I didn't get like really damning evidence, but I did get some good evidence on her that she's exaggerating at least, and she's a cop. So we'll see where that goes. Not too sure the union on her behalf will be able to protect her forever, and she can't go back to work as far as I'm aware to the same capacity, so she may be fucked. She might lose her job at least. She won't go to jail because she's a cop and she's protected, but if they continue to look after her, they will eventually catch her, and at least then she'll be off the public dole at a minimum. But for right now, I thought I would talk about a topic that I won't be able to get to today. I'll try to find time today to set it up, but the way that this case today is playing out, I'll be out here all fucking day. So I just won't have time to do what I want to do. But I wanted to talk about an article that I read in the New York Times that I saw Howard Dean, who was the former governor of, not Massachusetts, what was it, Vermont? He tweeted this article out from the New York Times by this fucking Edersol or Edsol fucking jerk-off journo. And it's exactly what you'd expect it to be. And what's amazing about statistics and using that in an argument is that you can always then throw statistics back at somebody. And these people actually have studies to back what they have to say, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the studies are bullshit, that they're biased and they're set up in a way to prove a conclusion that they started with. And you can read that in some of what is said by the professors that conducted the study that talked to this guy who then wrote this article. Because they start from the premise that, you know, all of a sudden, people that voted for, or I should actually say whites that voted for Obama, suddenly turn around and voted for Trump because they are racist. And I can throw statistics right back at him, and there's a few points in this, and it's going to be a video because there's too much involved in that article for me to just avoid it. But what I was saying was that if you use statistics in that way, where I can poke obvious holes in what you're saying, and even in the studies that you argue, and I can provide statistics for my own argument, what it does is that it creates a clash between my argument based on evidence and your argument based on evidence, both of which are just opinions. You can go on this fucking spiel and argue your own authority by which, oh, you know, I'm a very serious Ivy League fucking posh faggot that writes for the New York Times, and I took this study from my Ivy League friends at my Ivy League universities. We're so posh and champagne socialist, and we're here to tell you about the future demographics of the country. Well, I can just sit here as a layman and give you not just anecdote, but also evidence to say why what you say may actually be demonstrably false. I can't see your data sets, and I'm not going to bother going through them because my channel is an opinion channel. It's not, you know, a prestigious article in the prestigious New York Times written by somebody that does it for this kind of shit for, like, their job. As far as I know there, Tom, you're currently a fucking adjunct professor, which means you have plenty of time to talk about this dumb shit while you're living between your two houses in fucking New York City, Manhattan, and fucking Washington, D.C. You have plenty of time to write these fucking racist articles about how America, or white America rather, should just get past the fact that, you know, our future is going to be quote-unquote diverse, as you would put it, as though that's any kind of fucking argument. You know, it's just amazing to me that these people not only exist, but are so brazen in what they have to say. Because it's just race hatred. You know, I don't give a shit that you're some Ivy League educated fucking liberal, quote unquote liberal, where the only thing you're liberal about is the fact that you want as much fucking immigration into this country as possible and for us to outsource all of our goddamn manufacturing jobs so you as a rich person can directly benefit from it. You know, I bet you have some investments. I bet you do, because you're rich enough as a person and you're connected enough as a person to have that kind of fucking financial portfolio. I guarantee you have some investments. And so, when you talk about immigration, you have a direct fucking incentive to voice that opinion. And it's also on behalf of your fucking friends, who are also likely to be investors, who also have a direct interest in immigration being high, and trade to be basically giving away all of our manufacturing jobs and any high-paying job to overseas companies or to outsource to other companies so that you can pay the people in those countries subsistence level fucking wages, where you couldn't do that here. You wouldn't be able to get away with it here. Eventually, those workers would collectively bargain and unionize against you, or threaten to. And you'd have to pay them better. You'd have to offer them better working conditions, all the rest. What's going on in Japan right now is very important. And there's a lot of pressure on Japan right now to open the floodgates. And it seems to me, based on what people are telling me, that the Japanese might actually become susceptible to that. They might buy the propaganda and just let in a whole bunch of fucking immigrants to their country to basically destroy any potential advantage the working class might have in that country towards prosperity. The advantage they may currently have right now because of the issues of labor participation and a small labor pool, that advantage, because of that, may actually be eradicated because enough Japanese people might be convinced to just open the floodgates, as we have in the United States for fucking decades. Decades and decades, every fucking year, millions of new immigrants to the country. And those people have to actively compete with American workers. The fact that you, Tom, have absolutely no consideration for that showcases the fact that you are not an actual leftist. And I know that this is what I criticize the right for doing, for saying, you know, you're a leftist and you're not a true conservative. But the fact is that when I talk about having the class discussion, this is exactly what I mean. This absolutely could be a class discussion, but Tom specifically doesn't want it to be a class discussion because it would completely fucking undermine every single point he makes in this entire article, this op-ed for the New York Times, which is taken ever so seriously because he's an ever so serious fucking professor, a quote-unquote liberal professor, because he's in favor of having legalized gay marriage and legalized abortion. So that makes him a fucking quote-unquote liberal. There's a real problem in this country with the fact that we don't have a back and forth between the right and the left in this country anymore. We don't. There is no real back and forth between the right and the left anymore on numerous issues. And one of the biggest ones is immigration. There is no debate about immigration anymore. There's just this establishment of Republicans and Democrats who accept the idea that unlimited immigration is a good thing. Amnesty for illegal immigrants is a good thing. That these things have happened in the past and they must continue into the future. That there should be no slowdown to immigration whatsoever. We should have as many immigrants as we can possibly shove into this country. We should have it done. And there's no consideration whatsoever for an opposing viewpoint to that. Any opposing viewpoint to the idea that we should have open borders, full open borders, and that citizenship means nothing, and if it means anything, it should just apply to everyone. If they can cross the border into this country, they should be a citizen, according to these people. There is no consideration whatsoever to the opposing viewpoint, and it is considered racist. It is considered racist to say to an Irishman that got into this country illegally, or an Englishman that gets into this country illegally, it's racist to tell them to get out or to actually get legal citizenship or a visa, whether it's student work, whatever. It's not that hard to be in this country legally. And yet, according to these people, this swaths of people in this country, all very bourgeois, by the way, it's racist to say that somebody should be deported if they are in fact here illegally. That's not to say that there isn't any kind of other side to this issue of immigration. But the fact is that that side has in effect won out, where there is no fucking debate. There's no fucking debate at all on the topic. You are considered to be, as this article says, far right, if you even have anything to say about immigration at all. And the problem is that if you look at immigration through the lens of class, it is incredibly fucking easy to make an argument for limiting immigration. It is incredibly fucking easy and accurate in that you can present statistics to show the case of why it is important to have this discussion from a leftist viewpoint. You can do it. It is possible. And yet, my issue isn't that there aren't conservatives making that argument. My problem is that there is absolutely no one on the left making this argument from a class standpoint. Absolutely fucking no one. No one. Name me a single fucking quote-unquote left-wing politician, pundit, commentator, fucking anyone that is actually talking about immigration from a class standpoint. Name me fucking one. And I mean this. I am not just saying this rhetorically. I am literally asking you to name me one fucking person in the entirety of the United States that is actually making this fucking argument. Because I have yet to come across one fucking left-wing person. One! Just one. Anyone. I have not heard any one fucking person talking about this. It's why I say that this needs to happen. This needs to happen. This needs to be fucking talked about. There needs to be one pundit, one commentator, one person just giving an opinion that is from the left wing that offers an opinion on immigration from the viewpoint of class. Now, I know there will be conservatives listening to this that will say that using the lens of class can be applied inaccurately, and if you use it too often, if you fasten it to your own eyes, such as the lens of intersectionality or feminism or whatever, as Sargon has talked about before, if you fasten a lens to blind yourself to any other kind of perspective, yes, you can actually make yourself ridiculous, absurd, dogmatic, and just incapable of understanding or reflecting reality how it is. That's true, but what I am saying in this instance, and I think that more conservatives should make this point, that no one on the left is talking about immigration from the standpoint of class. No one is actually going to organize labor, for example, and saying, hey, organized labor, hey, unions, what do you think about mass immigration? What do you think about that? Get some heads of unions talking about immigration. What do they think about immigration? And then ask them from a class viewpoint, why do you hold that opinion? In relation to class, why do you hold that opinion? Because I bet you then you're going to hear some different fucking answers. I guarantee you're going to start hearing a lot less about fucking diversity. Nothing but a code word. You will stop hearing about that code word, and then you'll start hearing about unfair competition, pushing down of wages, being able to just hire scabs. You'll hear about the fact that it makes organizing a lot harder. I don't expect the right, conservatives, to make the case for unions. I don't expect that, and that's fine. You don't have to do that. But my point is that there is no one on the fucking left talking about class anymore. No one. And that is the point that I raise anytime that I have ever talked to a progressive, anytime that I've ever talked to anyone that's on the so-called left. I say, why is, well, it's a question, but it's also a statement, why is no one talking about class any fucking more? No one. Absolutely no one. No one in the New York Times, no one at the Washington Post, no one at fucking Slate or any other goddamn left-wing fucking outlet online, fucking BuzzFeed or whatever. No one is talking about class. No one. Absolutely no one. That needs to change. And maybe where it begins is with me talking about this article, not in this more rambling, unscripted commentary, but in the commentary that I'd like to do on that particular article. And I also have more than that just planned. I got other things that I've been looking at that very much coincide to what I've been talking about, not just in this, but I will be in that and likely in another commentary at some point when I have the time. You know, there's a lot to fucking talk about at this juncture as it relates to fucking class and the fact that no one is fucking talking about it anymore in any capacity anywhere in the United States. You know, coast to coast, including, fucking Guam and Puerto Rico. Nobody's talking about class anymore. Nobody. And the fact is, because of that, it has left a permanent acceptance of just cheap labor. That is just a good thing. Does nothing for the stock market, does nothing for growth in this country, which has been showcased for the fact that we've continued mass immigration, millions of people a year, and the growth hasn't exploded. The stock market hasn't exploded. With Trump coming in, being the anti-immigration president, the stock market continues to fucking explode, and it hasn't affected growth as far as I know. And yet you got this guy going in there saying we're going to round them all up and build a wall. But for whatever reason, it's not having an economic impact. It's almost like the arguments based around immigration and the economy and blah, 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 blah. Oh, globalization is just something we're just going to have to accept. It's almost like that's all bullshit. It's almost like all the presuppositional arguments I hear about economics every goddamn day of the week are fucking garbage. So, for now, I'm just going to leave it there, because I think I've been talking for long enough, and I don't want to make this too long so I don't get a chance to actually edit it and put it up. But I just thought I would mention this now, because I'm going to continue to look at this article and consider what exactly I want to do on it, because I got more than this going on right now in terms of what I would like to do in terms of a commentary. But this, to me, is a pressing fucking issue. The fact that in a country of 300 million people, rapidly approaching fucking 400 million, no one is discussing class anymore. No one, left, right, center, fucking nobody is talking about class in the actual credible arguments that can be made through that lens, using that perspective. There are credible fucking arguments that can be made, and yet no one on any level is making those arguments. So maybe I should start doing it. Maybe that's my place here on fucking YouTube, is actually talking about class. Actually talking about that from that perspective, because it is important. But I'll just leave it there. Thanks for listening.